it. So we'll go through Cuba. What do we got? We're going to stay in mainly two places, Havana and Trinidad, stopping off in Cienfuegos to check it out. So this is also that thing. We're going to stay in only 3 different hotels, so not a ton of packing and moving every time. But as we go through, the main things people want to know, people keep asking me, they go, Cuba, is that legal? Yes, it is. You don't have to read that. I read it for you, but I highlighted that thing here. You officially can't go to Cuba and just lay on the beach. But that's okay, because we wouldn't want to do that anyway. I've never led a tour that we just go to the beach. You can do that on your own. If you want to come with us, in the highlighted one there, you've got 12 different reasons you can go. Now, I don't know if any of you happen to be an ambassador. I'm not. But you have support for the Cuban people is one of the reasons you can go. And that's what we're going to do, because with all of our guided by tours, whether it's Romania or Italy or Norway, we want to benefit the people you go to. We're not there to just benefit McDonald's. You're there to benefit the people. So we're going to do that. Now that means a full schedule. We're going to have tons of meetings. Now, I've been to Cuba with a tour. It was actually the first time I took a tour, and it corrected me with how wrong I was with being snooty about group travel. I thought, group travel, what's the point? You know, go on your own. And then I took a tour to Cuba, and we met artists, musicians, ballerinas, politicians, architects, all this stuff. And then I went back on my own, or hypothetically, I may have gone back through through Mexico, and it was still fun. But I spent a lot of time wandering around looking for people to talk to. Versus with these tours, you get to meet so many people. Now that means I'm not going to go through the whole itinerary, because you will be here until April if I do the whole thing telling you about everything we're going to do, because it's just great. But suffice to say, it is legal. Now there are a couple things about it. You won't use your bank card. Just bring some cash. 2 things about that. We'll connect you with the best exchange rate, because if you did the official one, you're losing out on the vast majority of your potential. I know a guy, you know, it's a little bit Italian. I know a guy, you know, we'll get you all set up. And then the other thing people sometimes are nervous about with cash is it's safe. Cuba is, I put in the FAQ, it's a subjective question. I'm not going to tell anyone what this means, but to me, Cuba was safer than my kitchen. You know, I cut myself once in my kitchen. Cuba, I've walked around every city in Cuba that I've ever been to in the middle of the night with a phone in my hand, and the only thing that ever happens is conversation. It's really a remarkable place. So what are we going to do when we go down there? Support for the Cuban people, like that guy. That guy, he was just kind of hanging out, and I struck up a conversation, and ended up, he drove me to the other part of town I was going to. Cubans are incredibly friendly. The other question, I think we've heard a lot of, I don't want to swear, a lot of ideas about Cuba over the years. There is no anti-American sentiment, really, almost anywhere I've been in the world, but especially in Cuba. They love it when we go there. Fascinating people to talk to, and because we're there supporting them, it's just a positive feedback loop. And I got to keep it short again, but just to cut to the point, those cars, anybody want to see those cars? They are so much fun. And the cool thing about the cars there is it's not like a car show or a car museum or something. For that, come to my Christmas market one, I'll take you to the coolest car museum in Brussels. But in Cuba, they just use them. So the iconic blue ones are basically buses. They drive a certain route. You can just flag them down and jump in. I took pictures when I did that one time, but they're incredibly blurry of the backs of people's heads, so I skipped them. But you just jump in one of these cars, and it smells like my first car, which was from 1969, and it just has that smell, and you're sitting there in the thing, and it's an amazing experience to drive in these cars. But you get to just kind of go cruising around. Now, the best place to do that, you don't have to jump in a local bus by yourself, because the best place to do it is on the Malecon. And we're going to start the tour and end the tour doing this, getting some of those classic cars and jumping us all in there and going for a cruise on here. And the Malecon, I have to mention it in case you see it pop up. It's the big kind of road right in front of the beach there. It's like right along the promenade there. It is a ton of fun. I took this picture when I just got there. It's not great, but it shows what I was doing. And as right just out of the frame was this dude who saw us coming and was like, hey, I like tourists. And it's just a sense of the Cuban people. Yeah, I came back to just how friendly they are. So the Malecon is a great place to hang out, but the best time, and this is part of why we're staying in Havana for most of the trip, we'll do amazing stuff during the day. We'll go to community art centers. We'll go meet cool people. In the evenings, you have free time. You go to the Malecon like this, and we're used to this idea. I don't know, at night, is it shady? I mean, you can just kind of see there's families, all ages. Woman can walk by herself, no problem at all. And you go down there, and this is my old camera looks murky, but in person it's better. Everyone goes down there. You just wander down there, and you walk along, and you meet people. So I took baseballs last time because the Cubans love baseball, and I gave them to these kids, and they were, oh man, they were lit up. They were having so much fun, and they said, take our picture with our ball. So I took a picture, and they were moving too much. So I showed them the picture, and they said, you have to hold still if you want to see you. So they took this one, and they look very somber. He's very serious about that baseball, but it's because he's trying to restrain himself. So the only time you see a Cuban serious is when he's, trying to hold still for a photo. But you head down there, and the main thing I love about it is more like this. You wander around, you meet a family, you start talking to everybody in the family. A musician rocks up, and he's just playing some music just because he wants to share music with the area. The Cubans are so passionate. They just love music, and you can tip him. I think I actually had a bottle of rum. I ended up just giving him a swig of rum. You go, that's even better. You just end up making friends with these people, and you talk to folks. You don't have to speak Spanish. Their English is quite good, and you just hear random music. And the music of Cuba, oh yeah. Did you think if Buena Vista was okay? I'm going to listen to the whole album. Buena Vista, if you thought it was just isolation, just that one album, it's not. Music is on every breeze in that island. You walk down any neighborhood, and there's someone playing the trumpet or something. Like, it's one of the few countries where, this is actually a Cuban told me this. He said, this country, you know what I think is different here? Tell me if I'm right. In this country, a kid might come up to their parents and say, Mommy, I want to be a cardiologist. Now, what do you guys say? And we say, oh, yeah, sure, go to school, blah, blah. And they say, we'll tell them, that's fine, but don't forget how much you enjoy playing the trumpet. And I just thought that was such an amazing way to live. So we'll get a chance to hear live music in the evenings. We know which places have live jazz. You can go enjoy it. Other things Cuba's known for, well, yeah, music. This was Jimmy y sus Raíces. I ran into them a couple times around town. I wish I'd played the ukulele. I could have jumped in. Art. Cubans love their art. They're passionate about color. Now I switched to where I do these presentations to show that I do have something on my wall. Some of my friends are giving me grief about that, because you got to put art up. But art in a lot of places has become, it's just an investment vehicle, and it's either a print you bought for €5 from a guy putting it on the street outside a museum in Florence, or out of your price range. Not in Cuba, because tons of people paint. There's just color everywhere. We'll take you to their studios. You can see what they're working on. You can see what you like. This is a community art center where all these kids are doing all sorts of art. They're making all sorts of stuff. And then they have this as a former water tank that they didn't need anymore. So they set it up as their gallery. So you just go in there and see all the art from that community. And it's one of the things about Cuba I just love. Their joy for color and their enthusiasm is remarkable. I tell people the story when I lived in Belgium, and all of the streets, everything was red brick. Your options were bright red, like light red brick, dark red brick, or black brick. There was one house that was bright blue, and everyone could navigate off it in the entire part of Flanders. And it was because a Cuban dude lived there. And he said, I need color in my life. And he paid a fee every month or two because they wanted him to have brick. And he said, Cubans, they need color. So it's just a joyous place to be. The dancing. Yeah, this is one of the only photos in here that's not mine. I'm sorry, I have no idea who they are. But salsa dancing, we'll do some salsa classes at least one of the mornings. You can get out there and shimmy if you want to shimmy. I'll do it. I dance as well as I don't know, a sliding door, like the Tin Man, but not the like Hollywood version. Not the I'm not good, but it's a ton of fun. They don't care that you're not good. You just have a good time. But in addition to the famous salsa dancing, their ballet scene is phenomenal. Cuban ballet is so good. I've been to a couple ballets here and there, and it's very stylized. And once you learn about how they have to hold the hand perfectly, it's beautiful. But doing it in Cuba felt real. It was so much fun. So it's a ballet school. We just went by, and they just happened to be practicing, and these kids were phenomenal. They just have so much. It's like, it's an art. It's a joy. You don't care if it's going to be a feasible career because it's a long story. I'll get into it. Their joy of all of their arts. Now, it's a good looking country also for photography. If any photographers, bring your camera. That man is Roberto Salas, who you may not have heard of, but you've seen his photos because he was one of the 2 photographers who was with Che Guevara and Fidel Castro and everything during the revolution. He was there documenting them. He has photos that he took of all these guys. You can buy his prints. He gets a little annoyed because he doesn't want to talk about the revolution. He wants to talk about his artwork since then. And we go, yeah, that's cool. So what was Che like? You know, so, but he's just a really nice guy. He's really willing to talk to us about anything. I bought one of his photos last time I was there and put it on the wall. And it's of Camilo Cienfuegos, one of the other generals, and standing in front of the Lincoln Memorial or monument. And it informs the way I see everything. So we'll go meet Roberto. We'll take a guided tour with another photographer through Old Town. It's just, there's so much to do. They also, have you heard of Santeria? The syncretism, where you take some of the kind of Afro-Cuban religions and then the Catholicism and you blend them in this interesting way. This woman was sitting outside one of the churches that has a really famous Black Madonna statue. She's a Santeria priestess, and she was so friendly, so accessible. We were sitting there, and I think she could tell I wanted to take her picture, but I felt really shy. And she asked me, she's like, "You want to take my photo, don't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." So she very patiently waited while I figured out how to take a picture in the bright sunlight. We'll go there too. We'll go to that church. I don't know if she's still there. I don't know. It's been a while. There's just so much to learn about in this fantastic island. We will leave Havana for a little bit. We'll go down here. We'll stop through Cienfuegos, this one. Just kind of to see it, because part of the other parts of the island, I don't want to drive too much, but you get down to Cienfuegos, you get a lot of the Spanish colonial architecture, and then we have some friends here too. There's a choir in Cienfuegos that we'll visit, and I've only visited that choir 2-3 times or something, and I feel like I'm friends with them. Like the choir director, last time I was there, she was pregnant, and I want to go and like meet the kid. And you feel like part of the family when you go to Cuba. They're just so welcoming. They're not in as much of a hurry, you know, and not to, you know, cast shade on anybody, but they're more relaxed. They stop and they drink their coffee. We'll drink Cuban coffee and you take your time. Then we'll go down to Trinidad. I took this up the clock tower there. Trinidad, it's a great town to wander around in. It's known for the preservation, the restoration of its old colonial houses from 1800s. And its salsa dancing scene. There's a particularly famous, it's like down some stairs. They have a big kind of flat area and everyone just dances there all night long. It's a fantastic spot. But Trinidad is also a great chance to get out and just meet people. And the hiking. Yeah, in case you thought it was always hot and dry. That's one of the hikes we can go to with all these amazing waterfalls and canyons up in the mountains. It's just a spectacular thing to do. So back to Trinidad real quick. I love getting haircuts in different countries. I've gotten haircuts in a lot of countries. Because you can just, it's easier for dudes. You can just point and go, you know, and it works out. But these guys, while I was waiting, first off, I was noticing that he built a kid seat for his bike so he could take his kid on the frame of that bike. The Cubans are very inventive and they'll adapt to everything. But I started talking to these dudes and I asked them, "Do you want McDonald's here?" And they said, "Well, what's McDonald's?" And I could not explain to them how unbearably precious, or not precious, I don't mean that sounds condescending, how rare and significant that question was. And then just like talking to them, because Cuba is one of the few places left that's quite different. Every place is unique. Okay, I'm going to get myself in trouble. Each place is unique, but Cuba has exceptions to many of our assumptions, and it makes it just a fascinating place to go. So we'll head on down to there. You don't have to get a haircut, but I'm hopefully going to. I'm getting shaggy. Well, I'm not going to wait a year, but you can go down there, meet people, wander around. We'll head back on up to Havana. We'll stop in the Valley of the Sugar Mills. It's all this stuff. Havana is just a beautiful place to walk around. Their Capitol building that echoes ours, all the cars and everything. And you've probably noticed the recurrent theme is just the Cuban people. This is on the Prado there, right by the hotel we'll start in. You just strike up a conversation. They'll talk to you. They have a ton of fun, and you end up friends with an island. So it's a lot of fun. Come on out. Well, we'll get to that in the Q&A. Let me know if you have any questions. We'll go over some stuff. So that's Cuba. Vámonos a Cuba.